Ben, Alexey Navalny's mother on his death. I don't want to hear any condolences. We saw him in prison on February the 12th. He was alive, healthy and happy. This is according to Novaya Gazeta. What's your reaction at the moment, a couple of hours after this news broke?
It's shock, isn't it? I mean, Navalny's health has been in question. Watching him in his brief appearances at the various court meetings that he went to, video posting there, you could see that he was, his weight, he had lost a lot of weight. He didn't look healthy. There's been several rumors on several occasions that he was suffering. I mean, the regime in this far north in the prison camp is extreme. It's very tough. And it affects you physically. So the fact that he's been dogged by some sort of health problems is not surprising at all. The same is true for the other political prisoners in Minsk, in Georgia, those in Russia. They've also been having health problems. What makes this so suspicious is that the Kremlin tried to kill him at least on one occasion when he was poisoned in 2020 with Novichok. It's a specific and exclusively military-grade poison that's been used in the Skripal poisoning in the UK. So it looks like they were trying to do him in, and here he is. He's dropped down dead at the age of 47, and he was, healthy and fit when he went into prison. Raises all sorts of questions, but at this point it's still a matter of speculation. The official explanation is there was a blood clot that got loose and into his bloodstream, and that's what killed him.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about what you thought of that poisoning in 2020, and you've answered it. Gary Kasparov has said that Putin murdered Navalny, he says, by slowly and publicly. He slowly murdered him publicly while Navalny was in prison. In terms of what this does to dialogue in Russian politics with the elections coming up in March, what difference?
Not a huge difference. Navalny is actually a complicated character when it comes to the Russian population, as the ambassador alluded to, that he's not really seen as a political figure per se. I mean, he's prominent in the protest movements in 2011 when 100,000 people came out onto the street after a fixed Duma elections and, struck a chord. There is a hardcore opposition. There is relatively small but hardcore section of the population that want to see Putin go. But the vast majority, they're grateful to him for the prosperity he's brought after the chaos of the Yeltsin years. And it's hard to overestimate, overemphasize, the effect of those years on the Russian population and then the relative prosperity that's come afterwards. And people simply scared of losing what they've gained. However, having said that, I mean, Navalny is very well respected by the population for his anti-corruption activities. The videos he makes, the exposés on Putin's super yacht, on Putin's palace down in on the south coast, get millions of views, and everybody talks about it. So the one place he stood in 2013 for the mayor of Moscow, where he was allowed to run in that election, he actually did surprisingly well. And I think that was a bit of a wake-up call for the Kremlin, is that, we don't want this actor on the stage, political stage. And at that point, a decision was made to exclude him from politics, and then he started to have real trouble. Particularly a corruption case was brought against him, which basically barred him from ever standing again. And then later on, he had this strategy of what was called smart voting, whereby the opposition would back and promote any candidate that wasn't part of the systemic Kremlin-backed parties in order to make sure that the Kremlin's candidate wouldn't get in. And that also was effective. And again, the Kremlin moved and closed down his organization and stopped that from happening. So I think we could see protests. Again, the Russian population are not happy with the way that the Kremlin's treated him, the heavy-handed way that they do politics. However, he's not a sort of Nelson Mandela type figure where the population will rally behind him and try and oust Putin in the way that we saw happen twice in Ukraine.
Ben, thanks again for the contribution. Always appreciated. Ben Aris.